Hey, Sayre at Nova Motorcycles again. Today we're looking at a pretty cool, pretty antique motorcycle. This is a 1935 Indian Sport Scout. Um, this bike in particular came out of a museum in Montreal that's closing down, and they were looking to sell off their collection. So our customer purchased it. It was a bit of a gamble because the museum was very light on details, and sometimes when you buy something from a museum, it's got a beautiful finish on it, but there's no pistons or no internals to the motor or something like that. So it was a little bit of a gamble. Thankfully, so far this looks really good. Our job here is to go through it. Stored without fluids. It was packed away for at least 10 years, and our job is to go through it and make sure all the systems work. The customer really wants to ride it on the road. This is a pretty good example of that. This is actually a restoration, not an original bike. So it's had, the paint's been redone. Everything on it has been gone through and redone, which is not quite as monetarily valuable as an original bike. But an original unrestored bike is something that if you go riding it around, any little nick on it is going to be taking down the value of the bike. So for a bike you actually want to ride, this is a fantastic specimen. And it looks like it was a job well done. As I said, you never know what you're getting into, especially if someone doesn't provide a lot of details. But this bike so far has checked out really well. We got it running and sounds great. Now we're kind of doing some minor finishes on things. So just the model in general, it's a 750cc side valve V-twin, 42-degree V-twin. Back in the day, there was Harley against Indian in this era. As we know, Harley lasted and Indian did not, but these were really cool bikes. This is the first version of the Indian Scout is what Burt Munro rode, built, and set world records with, speed records with in the World's Fastest Indian movie that everybody's familiar with. This is an evolution of that. His bike was a 1920, I think, a 600cc. And this is a 1935, made to 750. Motor is a side valve motor, pretty common for that time period. You can see the little bulges out of the side of the engine here where the fuel comes in on a vertical valve, does its thing, gets burned, and comes out another vertical valve right next to it. It's got a Schiebler carburetor. It's got a distributor, which is kind of cool for this time, instead of usually a magneto of some sort. It's got a battery and point ignition, basically. This one has had electronic ignition upgraded to it, so that's kind of cool. Other cool things about these Indians: left side twist grip. Now that controls the magneto, advance, and retard. So you're going to be playing with that as you're riding and starting. And you could buy this model with the throttle twist grip, or on the left side and the magneto on the right side, or vice versa, depending on how you wanted it. Hand shift, this is common for the time. Foot clutch, much like a car. It takes a bit of getting used to ride the foot clutch thing. It does not feel like as modern motorcycle riders, it does not feel natural in the slightest. But once you get used to it, it's kind of cool. And it's just like a car. You press it down, it comes back, Otherwise, 3-speed transmission, hardtail, kind of common stuff for the period. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, this part right here, this ignition switch, is actually the hardest thing to track down on this bike. There is one person in the world currently making these replicas, and they're in Poland. So I called all the suppliers, and everybody's out of them until I found this guy. And so we got one on the way from Poland, old antique American motorcycle parts from Eastern Europe. Why not? So that should be on the way, and once that's here, I think this thing is going to be ready to go home. What we've done so far is, as gone through the fluids, we have to prime the oil pump to make sure it'll actually pump oil through the engine, and it's working great. Put in a new 6-volt battery, and set the valves, check the timing statically, and now I'm finishing up the transmission fluids, the primary and the transmission fluid. But other than that, it's kind of like tire pressure, and let's go see if it rides around the parking lot. So stay tuned. I'm sure we'll do a video of it running and riding around before it goes home. And as usual, please like and subscribe.